Bobby, you were gone for Dan Quinn taking the Commander's job. Jerry Jones yesterday, while trying to spin the World Cup semifinals, said 9 a.m. today. 9 a.m. the interviews are going to start. They are not going to include Joe Witt Jr., who is the new defensive coordinator for Dan Quinn in D.C. Dan Quinn also brings over Cliff Kingsbury as his offensive coordinator. Mike Zimmer is going to officially interview. Reaction to Dan Quinn and the trickle-down effect.
The youth movement. He's building a youth movement there in Washington with his coordinators and everything else, and what will ultimately be a very young roster. I think Dan Quinn's going to be a really good head coach again. I think as much as the shine had come off him here for a lot of people, and specifically just because of how things ended and also how things were in a couple of the big games over time, I think that he did things here that nobody else had been able to do here, that we'd been begging defensive coordinators to do for a long time.
Agreed.
And so I'm a big Dan Quinn fan. I think the team's going to miss him, and I think he'll have success in Washington. And so that's kind of where I come down on that. And then here in Dallas, I mean, Joe Witt Jr. had made the most sense to me internally as the candidate that they would elevate. I know there's a bunch of, Al Harris fans and everything else, but Witt had always been the guy that made more sense to me. Witt has essentially already designed a pass defense, and that's something Al Harris has never done. And so that's the one that made the most sense to me. Now, and with what you're left with, I think it's Zimmer. Zimmer makes complete sense to me. Zimmer is the most forward-thinking, the most schematically balanced, the guy who has...
I wouldn't think Mike Zimmer and forward-thinking is the...
Because you're aging him.
Why?
You're an ageist.
Why?
Do you think of Belichick as forward-thinking in terms of his defensive schemes?
Not anymore.
Really?
The defensive scheme's kind of dated.
I don't think so. I think that, if you look at, what he's on the forefront of, the way that they use Micah Parsons as a pressure player is exactly the way that Zimmer has created. We also just talked about, Micah rushing up the A-gap, right? That is the staple of Mike Zimmer's defense, is a double A-gap blitz. So he'll send guys, he'll show two linebackers standing directly over the center on either shoulder of him, and one of them typically drops, one of them rushes. They never know who's coming. He does a lot of things, with creepers and sim pressures, which basically creepers and sim pressures are you send four guys to rush, but you're not sending the four down linemen. You're sending one linebacker, maybe one safety, and you're dropping a defensive lineman. So creepers are when you send somebody from the back seven and they're not showing blitz. The sim pressures are you're showing blitz with those guys and one of them comes. So whenever you see the Baltimore defense where it's 8 guys on the line of scrimmage and all of a sudden half of them drop back and then 4 of them rush, that's sort of the same thing. That was something basically not designed, but really brought to the forefront by Mike Zimmer into the NFL. So Mike Zimmer is still considered a very forward-thinking defensive coordinator, and he's had more success when you measure it by EPA, the per play stuff. He's had more success against the San Francisco schemes than just about any defensive coordinator in the NFL. Nobody has been as successful against the Shanahan, McVay, that whole coaching tree than Zimmer.
And you think he's more of a preference than Ron Rivera for them right now?
I would hope so.
I would hope so.
I don't know for certain that he is. I think they like both of them. But I would hope that Zimmer would be, because I do think Zimmer's more forward-thinking.
Is there anybody, I don't know, under 50?
Why does that have to be the case? And by the way, Al Harris, who everybody wants, Al Harris turns 50 this year.
Is he that old?
Yes, he's 5-6 years older than Joe Witt.
I thought he's younger than me.
I know.
No, Joe Witt is younger than you, I believe. But Al Harris,
Joe and I are both 44.
Al Harris,
oh my God, Al Harris is 49.
He turns 50 this year.
There's no way.
Holy crap!
I swear to God, his NFL debut was after I got out of college.
Yeah, Brandon Carr's about to be 60.
Yeah.
I'm blown away by you as well.
But even Al Harris, if you wanted to hire him, you wouldn't be hiring somebody else. Look, Mike Zimmer's 67. Yes, Mike Zimmer is older. Mike Zimmer has consistently been around the NFL and consistently designed defenses that perform. A lot of people, when Danielle Hunter got to the NFL, there were a lot of people who thought, why is anybody banking on Danielle Hunter? He's all, upside. And if you look at his time at LSU, he had 3 sacks, was his best season at LSU. Why would anybody take him? This is the Josh Allen of defensive ends. And Zimmer brought that out of him. Zimmer brought a ton out of Everson Griffin. Zimmer brought a lot out of secondaries. And universally, if you want somebody to come in here and be an ass kicker, somebody who's going to hold people accountable, and not necessarily, I think we all love Dan Quinn, but Dan Quinn was more the toddler, friendly, motivational guy. The guy who's going to crack skulls will be Zimmer.
That's why I would like him the most, for the hot noise, for all the hot noise to finally be deflated. There's actually a clip going around from the weekend of Mike Zimmer during his Cincinnati Bengal days, and this is what I want the Cowboys defense to have to deal with.
Damn it, that's horse shit. If we get a press, G, you get your fucking ass outside and get it contained, okay? I told you this fucking quarterback runs. Keep him in the fucking pocket. You got me? You better quit bullshitting around. I'm not having this bullshit. Better get your minds right, or I'll get them right for you.
Bobby Knight applauding.
Right for you.
Bobby Knight
That's
applauding.
Right.
You remember when Terrence Newman left here?
Yeah,
at the end of 2011, and people were like, he's done. Like, he's 33, he's cooked. He went on to Cincinnati and Minnesota. Both stops he spent the entire time with Zimmer, because Mike Zimmer really believed in Terrence Newman. And Terrence Newman got 6 more years out of his career with Mike Zimmer, and he became a physical, like, tackling football player in Cincinnati and Minnesota. Guys just, they age better under Mike Zimmer. He's got a history of getting the most out of players. He's scheme versatile. He's somebody who draws up elaborate, exotic blitzes, who disguises things really well. For all the complaints of, hey, what you see is what you get with the Dallas defense. They do things really impressively, but they kind of show you what they're going to do. There's none of that. There's a lot of disguising with what Mike Zimmer likes to do.
Choppy, my question for you is, what impact or say will and should Mike McCarthy have in this hire?
Oh, he should have all say. This is his last chance. I mean, he should have all the say. Like, he needs to have if Jerry is serious about winning this year and giving Mike an opportunity to succeed, like, giving him a chance to succeed, then he needs to allow him to make it this hire. This has got to be his hire.
Whose pick was Dan Quinn? Was that McCarthy?
No, that was the Joneses. As much as everybody likes to say it was not McCarthy.
So
McCarthy gave it a thumbs up, like, yes, I agree, but McCarthy did not make the hire.
Well, what I would part of the reason I asked that question is, all right, so I'm the Joneses. If what Bobby is saying is true, I got you picking Mike Nolan, and we picked Dan Quinn. So we are up 1-0 on the DC scoreboard, Mike.
Yeah, we're adults here. We're not keeping score. Jerry, we're not keeping score here. Like, we're adults. I made a mistake with Mike Nolan, and I rectified the mistake by getting rid of him. You wanted me to keep Kellen. Did it work? I'm up 1-0 because I took over the offense on that side. So, y'all can stick it. Like, we're trying to win games here. We're not trying to be petty and see who's keeping score.
Boy,
we're not children. We're not high school kids in a relationship, their first relationship.
Well, the Joneses like to hire, their own coordinators.
I know, they do. And look, here's what I tell them.
Jason Kellen.
Look, then if I was Mike, I'd be like, fine, go ahead. Like, I got 1 year left on my deal. What are you going to do? You're going to fire me? Whoops. You're not going to fire me. I've got 1 year left.
Yeah.
You've already shown that you're not going to fire me. Like, go to bat for yourself. If I'm Mike McCarthy, I'm going to bat for myself.
So we're giving him credit now. Not only did we give him credit at the beginning, with the beginning of last year of like, well, yeah, he screwed up the offense for 5 weeks, but look, he admitted a mistake. Now you're going to try and give him credit for, look, he hired Mike Nolan, the worst defensive coordinator in the NFL, but he admitted his mistake. We got to give him credit for admitting his mistake.
You absolutely
He's
get
made
credit.
enough mistakes that he doesn't get to screw it up again and admit it afterwards.
You absolutely get to, no. When you make a hire and then the mistake is not making the hire. You can only go on the information that you had. Now, I agree it was a bad hire because all the information showed Mike Nolan was an idiot. Okay, but
the Saints were thrilled to get him out of their building. By the way,
he was terrible. He was a terrible coach,
and the Cowboys knew that, and it didn't raise any red flags. To them.
But making a hire is not a mistake. The mistake, even if the hires work, the mistake is keeping it and doing the sunk cost fallacy. The moment you recognize the mistake, you cut bait.
Yeah, but I can blame people for making obvious dumb hires. Like if
I agree, Mike Nolan's a dumb hire.
If Spittle brings in someone here out there, you could argue this with the initial lineups that we wrote out here, right? You have someone with a lot of questions around them. Other people would have told you stay far, far, far away. You make that hire, you could be blamed for, why'd you do this? It was stupid to begin with. So I'm going to think that you're even more stupid now. So that's where we stand with it. I'm in on Zimmer. Choppy, do you have someone else now under the age of 49? Al Harris out for you.
No,
you prefer like Brandon Staley over Mike Zimmer.
No, I didn't say that. Brandon Staley can't get his own defense together either.
Okay.
But I mean, I just want some fresh ideas. That's what I just want young. Just give me fresh ideas. I don't even care if they're bad ideas. I just want them to be fresh.
But if you watch Mike Zimmer's defenses, it's not like Mike Zimmer has just like, here's my same Rod.
No, I know.
Like, and I love Rod Marinelli. But Rod Marinelli had a scheme that he believed in and he committed to, and there wasn't a lot of evolution to it. Mike Zimmer consistently has evolved.
I love Mike Zimmer. I think Mike Zimmer's a great coach. All right, and I saw him here go from a 4-3 to a 3-4 just because Coach Parcells told him to. I think Mike's a phenomenal football coach. If they hire him, I'm not gonna be mad. My preference is just give me somebody with some fresh ideas around.